You can love someone and still choose to say goodbye to them. You can miss a person every day and still be glad that they're no longer in your life.
If somebody want to walk out of your life, let them go. Especially if you know you done everything you can do, you done sat around and been the best man or the best woman you could be, and they still want to go, let them go. Whatever they're running after, they'll see what they had in a minute, but by then it's going to be too late. Because you'll sit there and you'll go, because half these people you be sitting around crying about it, worry about 2-3 years from now, you ain't going to even remember their last name.
Letting go can make you unstoppable. I know because I let go of a relationship and reclaimed my life. And I know that letting go can create the best of change for each and every one of you.
Sometimes you just got to accept that certain things will never go back to how they used to be, because certain people will never go back to who they used to be in your life. Sometimes you just got to wake up and realize that what you're holding on to just doesn't exist anymore. And the more you can accept what is, the less you'll be controlled by what was. You got to stop hanging on to someone who has let go of you. Stop losing yourself to someone who has already left you. Forget trying to find closure. Forget trying to find understandings to their reasons. Forget trying to see if they're happy in their new relationship. Stop focusing on them and start focusing on you.
Let folks go, son. Some people come in your life for a lifetime, some come for a season. You got to know which is which. And you're going to always mess up when you mix them seasonal people up with lifetime expectations. You can't, they got people that done got married with people they was only supposed to be with for a season. They done got married to people they only supposed to be with for a season and wonder why they're having so much hell in their life.
They are not who you thought they were. The idea that this person was a trustworthy, faithful companion is not true. It is not true. That person does not exist. They didn't exist and they don't exist. It was in your head. It was in your head that this person was trustworthy and they were everything you wanted them to be and they were a faithful companion. That is a lie. They are not that person. They have proved it. They have proved it by their actions. So move on, and at the risk of sounding callous, get over it.
Listen, I put everybody that come in my life in the category of a tree. Some people are like leaves on a tree. Wind blow, they over here. They unstable. Blow the other way, they over here. Ain't nothing. Season change, they wither and die. They gone. That's all right. That's some people. Most people in the world are like that. They just there to take from the tree. They ain't there to do nothing but take and give shade every now and then. That's all they can do. But don't get mad at people like that. That's who they are. They ain't gonna never be nothing. That's what they put on this earth to be what they are, a leaf. Some people are like a branch on that tree. You gotta be careful with them branches too, because they'll fool you. They'll get there and make you think they're a good friend and they're real strong, but the minute you step out there on them, they'll break and leave you high and dry. But if you find you 2 or 3 people in your life that's like the roots at the bottom of that tree, you are blessed, because that's them the kind of people that ain't going nowhere. They ain't worried about being seen. Don't nobody have to know that they know you. They ain't got to know what they're doing for you. But if them roots wasn't there, that tree couldn't live. You understand? And they ain't got a tree can have 100 million branches, but only a few roots down at the bottom to make sure it get everything it needs. I'm telling you something. When you get you some roots, hold on to them. But the rest of them, let it go. Just let it go. Let folks go.
It's okay to be alone. Some people get freaked out when they're alone. It's okay to be alone. It's okay. It's okay to be alone. There's no big deal. Enjoy it. Do something productive and build that trust up in yourself. Look back at the situation, learn from it. We do that. It's an post-operational debrief. Oh, you've put too much trust in somebody? Cool. They broke your heart? All right, roger that. Let's see. What were the steps? What should I have recognized? How many times did I say, well, they didn't call me, but it's probably just because their phone was out of battery. No. Once your phone runs out of battery once, okay, you don't let it happen again, right? So you start seeing those red flags, see the mistakes that you made. And then look for them next time around, because you deal with people all the time that they made mistakes the first run. They go back and they make the same mistakes the second run. They go back and make the same mistakes the third run. That's when you got to start blaming yourself on your situation. That's why I said you gotta like build a relationship with yourself. You gotta learn yourself. You gotta learn to trust yourself.
When you get to a point in your life where you look at people and you go, okay, wait a minute, you or me, you will make a decision. Because when you telling folks to do something, and I never throw nobody away, I've never in my life just thrown nobody would just say, look, don't bother me no more, don't talk to me, I've never done that. What I do is I tell you, say, look, this thing you doing right here, that's going to cause a problem. You need to fix that, because if we're going to be friends, we're going to be cool, you got to fix that. And if you don't, we're going to have an issue. If you see somebody fix it or they even trying to fix it, that's somebody that care. Keep them people around. That's a leaf that's trying to grow up and be something else. You understand? But if you tell somebody that what you're doing is hurting me and I need you to stop it and they keep doing it, they don't care, move on, let them go. No matter how much it hurts, let them go. And it'll get easier, I promise you, every day it'll get easier and easier and easier. You just got to make it through. You hear me, sonny? And see, you got to learn how to be by yourself, son. People have to learn how to be alone. I don't understand all these people, oh, I need somebody. Lord, where's my man? Lord, where's my woman? That is crazy as hell. If you don't know how to be by yourself, what you going to do with somebody else?
Moving on is less about what you're moving on to and more about what you're moving on from. Okay? It is less about what you're moving on to. Some of us, we stay stagnant. We settle for less. We stay in a situation that isn't good for our life. We stay in a job. We stay in a relationship. We stay in a friendship. We stay in a partnership that isn't good for our life because we don't know what we're going to move on to. We're so afraid to be alone. We're so afraid to go on that journey without, because a lot of us, that's all that we know. We've been codependent on that situation. For me, I was codependent on football. There's relationships in my past that I was codependent on, and I would rather settle for a little bit and settle for less than actually move on with my life. Some of us, we're so afraid to be alone. We're so afraid to go alone that we will stay stuck in a situation that we know isn't good for our life. So everybody type this in the chat right now so I know that you get it. Moving on is less about what you're moving on to and more about what you're moving on from.
Why am I holding on to this? How is this serving me? And really think about the answer. Maybe it makes you feel validated. Maybe it makes you feel righteous. Or maybe taking on the pain is your way of recognizing the injustice so that even though it won't be made right, it can at least not be forgotten. Then I ask you, again, ask yourself, do you want to be right or do you want peace? Woo! This was huge for me. The unfortunate fact is that having both may not be possible. And also, you may never get your moment of righteousness, so why wait for it? Choose peace. What I know for sure is that in this world, time is a moving on, and it's our most valuable commodity. You can never get it back. So staying in that loop, playing it over and over in your head of hurt, only amplifies your pain. Let it go. Exhale, make room in your heart for something that is uplifting. Surround yourself with people who want the best for you. You have the ability to shift the DNA of your spirit and control how you perceive life. So why not lighten your load and let it go? People who love you don't treat you badly. Love doesn't hurt. It's supposed to feel good.
Ladies, take the blame off yourself. Men are really, really good at that. Making you think something wrong with you. Oh, real men don't really operate like that. But you got so many men out here from these broken homes. You got so many men out here that ain't had a father figure, that didn't tell them what real men really do. That real men buckle down. That real men meet a woman and put her on a pedestal and treat her like a queen. Real men get taught this. When you don't have a man that's been taught that, you're dealing with a man that don't have all the qualities of manhood.
I just wanted to highlight that abuse is unacceptable, and I lived it for 10 years with my abuser, my then husband, and it's something that I felt very ashamed about. And when you're in an abusive relationship, you don't want anybody to know that. It's very embarrassing, and you feel very riddled with shame and guilt. And when I left my abuser, I was wanting to speak about it loud and proud, like this is not okay, and I'm one of the lucky ones. I got out, and it took me 10 years to find the courage to actually leave that behind.
If you don't get the lesson, it's a benevolent universe. It will come back. wearing a different pair of pants in a different form. It will show up again to see if you really got it. So what is the great lesson for us?
I mean, it really is what Oprah's saying, which is that when you get a red flag or a caution, a yellow blinking light, don't let it go to red. Get it when it's yellow, when the caution is there, that's saying something doesn't feel right. Check in with your friends. Ask them what they think about who you're with. And I'll tell you something, we don't want to do that. We don't want to ask our friends. And I always say this, if you're living a life and having a relationship that you can't tell your friends about what's happening in your relationship, something's wrong. If you've got to keep the secret, something's wrong. It means because I don't want you to know that he's calling me a B. He doesn't really mean that. He only does that when he drinks too much. Mm-hmm. He's not really an alcoholic. That only is because he was stressed last week. Well, last week turns into every kind of day. So part of it is, again, gathering a community, and I call it a truth commission. I have a truth commission in my life. Folks who will tell me the truth even when I don't want to hear it. And we all need that.
Yeah, I have it too.
You know, we need somebody who will say, you know what, that is like not, I mean, you're out of your mind right now.
If you've been in a relationship for 12 bad years, do you want to do 12 more? Stop collecting red flags. What y'all saving them for? Once you get so many red flags, y'all ought to sew them all together, tie them around your neck, and fly your ass out of there.
Think of all the times you let a man treat you badly, or someone, your friends, walk all over you. How many times have you let hurtful words or criticism crush you? Well, I was one of those people who was raised not to have a lot of self-esteem. And I know anybody else who was physically violated as a child, as I was, got whippings every day. The lesson of a whipping, the lesson of being heavily disciplined with violence is that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough. And so it takes a long time to get a sense of self-worth and self-value. And so I was in my 20s doing what everybody in their 20s does and looking for love in all the wrong places and looking to be validated by somebody else's view of who I was and wanting them to say, I'm okay. Yes, you're okay. You're okay. And I've done some really embarrassing, ridiculous, crazy ass things over the years, holding onto the bumper of a Datsun Z like I could actually keep him from pulling off. And I remember one time he had left and slammed the door on my hand. And I had, just like a lot of women, had the barrier of, well, you can say anything to me, but you cannot hit me. You cannot hit me. He didn't hit me, but the door slammed on my hand. And I thought, well, that's coming close. That's coming very close. And I remember the door slamming on my hand, falling to the floor. And in front of me was a mirror. And I saw myself on the floor with my hand now bruised and thinking, I have become the woman that I watched my cousin Alice be my whole life as a kid. The only difference is that I'm battered in spirit. And the next step is going to be, who knows? So lying there on the floor is the moment I made that decision that I have now become a woman that I never imagined myself to be. And I got to figure out how to get myself out of this. And that was the beginning of the lesson, which is I'm hoping happens to you tonight.
Frequent breakups and makeups, high highs and low lows. As tension rises, so does volatility. Tearful, frustrated fights followed by emotional makeups. Hateful and hurtful comments like, you're worthless, I'm not even sure why I'm with you. Followed quickly by apologies and promises it will never happen again. By this point, you've been so conditioned to this relationship roller coaster that you may not realize how unhealthy and maybe even dangerous your relationship has become. It can be really hard to see when unhealthy love turns towards abuse. But it's fair to say that the more of these markers your relationship might have, the more unhealthy and maybe dangerous your relationship can be. And if your instinct is to break up and leave, which is advice so many of us give our friends when they're in unhealthy relationships, that's not always the best advice. Time of breakup can be a real trigger for violence. If you fear you might be headed towards abuse or in abuse, you need to consult with experts to get the advice on how to leave safely. But it's not just about romantic relationships, and it's not just about violence. Understanding the signs of unhealthy love can help you audit and understand nearly every relationship in your life. For the first time, you might understand why you're disappointed in a friendship, or why every interaction with a certain family member leaves you discouraged and anxious. You might even begin to see how your own intensity and jealousy is causing problems with colleagues at work. Understanding is the first step to improving. And while you can't make every unhealthy relationship healthy, some you're going to have to leave behind, you can do your part every day to do relationships better. And here's the exciting news. It's actually not rocket science. Open communication, mutual respect, kindness, patience, we can practice these things every day. And while practice will definitely make you better, I have to promise you it's also not going to make you perfect. I do this for a living. Every day I think and talk about healthy relationships, and still I do unhealthy things. Just the other day, as I was trying to shuttle my 4 kids out the door amidst quarreling, squabbling, and complaints about breakfast, I completely lost it. With an intentionally angry edge, I screamed, "Everybody just shut up and do what I say. You are the worst. I'm going to take away screen time and dessert and anything else you could possibly ever enjoy in life." Anybody been there? Volatility, belittling. My oldest son turned around and looked at me and said, "Mom, that's not love." For a minute, I really wanted to kill him for calling me out, trust me. But then I gathered myself and I thought, you know what, I'm actually proud. I'm proud that he has a language to make me pause. I want all of my kids to understand what the bar should be for how they're treated, and to have a language and a voice to use when that bar is not met versus just accepting it.
If you're going to be successful in life, you got to understand that there's a sense of urgency, that there are only 86,400 seconds in a day. And you got to not only operate in them, you got to do it quick. You got to do it fast. You got to do it in a hurry. Why? Because there's somebody else who's on the same track you on. Somebody else, they're on the same path that you on. It's somebody else just like you trying to do it. And sometimes they're working just as hard as you're working. They're putting in just as much sweat, just as much tears, just as much blood. But you just got to do it what? You got to do it faster than they do it. You got to do it quicker than they do it.
You have greatness within you. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. See, I believe that anybody through observation and practice can perform at the level of excellence. But when you're pursuing your greatness, you don't know what your limits are, and you act like you don't have any. So I say to you, you have something special. You have greatness within you.
That's why I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, because when you're getting up at 6, you might be smarter than me. You hear me? You might. You might have more privilege than me. You might. You might have more resources than me. You might. But I'm going to get up earlier than you, and I'm going to do it quicker than you do it. I'm going to do it faster than you do it. So by the time you get up with all your resources, by the time you get up with all your privilege, by the time you get up with all your stuff, I've already finished the race. Are you hearing me? It's not just about finishing. Sometimes it's about finishing fast. And you don't have as much time as you think you have. And so you got to pick up the pace. Pick up the pace. You walking too slow. Pick up the pace. You moving too slow. Pick up the pace. If you want to finish, sometimes you can't just finish. You got to finish fast.
I refuse to die an unlived life.
Your dreams, your goals, your passions will not just happen to you. You have to live it out. You have to grind it out. You have to work it out. You're different. You're one of the ones that'll get down dirty in the mud to fight for your dreams.
It's not what you don't have. See, I was focused on what I didn't have. Don't have a college degree. Don't have any credentials. Never worked for a major corporation. I was focused on the negative things and said, negative things are the things that you see when you're not focused on your goal. What do you come with? What is it that you have within you? When a dream is big enough, the odds don't matter. look at a man the way that he is, he only becomes worse. But look at him as if he were what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. I want to challenge you right now about raising your goals and stretch yourself.
Anything you hear about me that feels good, sounds good, you think about, I wonder what Oprah's doing, how's she doing? I am living the dream. And I want you to live the dream, because I'm not living the dream because I'm special. I'm living the dream because I was obedient to the call of the dream. So I want you to leave here today thinking about what is the dream for you? What is God's dream for you? What does the Creator's dream hold for you? So often we spend our lives wishing and hoping and hoping and wishing and desiring things. This is what I know for sure. You don't get what you wish for. You don't even get what you hope for. You get what you believe. So what is it you believe and know to be God's dream for you? So I live in the dream. I'm living in the space of the dream. The dream's good. The dream's good. The dream is greater than anything that I could have imagined. You know, when I was a little girl, my father, on Sunday mornings after church, he was a deacon, so he thought he had to say goodbye to every single person. We were the last car leaving the parking lot in the green Oldsmobile. And we would drive through the white people's neighborhoods. And I used to dream the dream, driving through the white people's neighborhoods. We'd drive through the white people's neighborhoods and you'd see their fancy houses. Some of them had gates, but all of them had trees. And I remember when I first came to Baltimore, I met a friend. When I first came to Baltimore, I made friends with a wonderful woman named Arlene Wiener. She was the wealthiest person I'd ever met. I went to her house, parked in the driveway. There was a Corvette, and there was a BMW, and there was a Mercedes. And he was rich. And at Arlene's house, once I got inside, I could see from her kitchen window 6 trees in the front yard. I thought, oh, rich people have trees. When I get rich, I'm going to get me some trees. I'm not just going to get me, everybody want to get cars and pocketbooks and shoes. But I want me some trees. So, as life would have it, I was standing in my kitchen window about 3 years ago in California, making coffee in the morning, and I was looking out the window, and I saw 6 trees. But listen to me. I was making the coffee. I saw the 6 trees. I went out on the porch, actually count the 6 trees. And this is what I noticed. That I could dream the 6. But beyond the 6 trees in my kitchen window are 3,687 trees. How do I know? Because I had them counted. I had them counted. So I said, I want to know how many trees out there. I dreamed the 6. That's as much as my small mind and my imagination could hold for myself. I dreamed the 6, but God can see beyond the 6. Can see beyond the 6 because there was a bigger dream for me. And I'm here to tell you there is a bigger dream for you. There's a bigger dream. And so the key, the secret, the magic is to surrender to God's dream for you. To quit fighting against and pushing against and disallowing against and resisting against and trying to tell the Creator, the universal forces, divine intelligence what you are supposed to do, and get still and know for sure what His dream, the dream, is for you. Now, when I was about 8 years old, I grew up in the church, and I was going to one of those Women's Day, you know how we have church all day long. I've been to Sunday school, and then afternoon they were having women's tea from the women's board. They were having a tea, and the little girl that was supposed to be there to do recitation had gotten ill. And so they said to my stepmother, we need a little girl. Can Oprah come back and do a recitation this afternoon? My stepmother said, yeah, I'll have her back here this afternoon. So this, church ain't over to 1:30. So by 4 o'clock, I had gone home and learned to recite Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Now, it starts out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. I was reciting it and doing the pit from pole to pole. I didn't know what I was saying. But at the end of the poem, there's the stanza that says, it matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Now, my little 8-year-old brain didn't really fully understand the power and depth of those words, but they sounded good enough for me to write them down and put them on my mirror. And those words, I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul, became a mantra for me. What it said is, I am responsible for the choices that I make in my life. I am responsible. I am responsible. So obviously I grew up and was better able to articulate what those words really mean. And I discovered in physics class, those of you who remember physics, the third law of motion. You remember what that is? The third law of motion in physics says, for every action, it's called Newton's law, and it says for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So what does that mean? That means everything that you are putting out into the world, every action, bam, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It means no matter what you do, the energy of what you do, what you say, and most important, the energy of who you are is going out into the world, into your home, into your relationships. And that energy is always coming back to you. You are responsible for the energy that you are pulling out into the world, because that very energy, bam, is coming right back to you every single time, whether you believe it or not, because it is law. It is law. It is law that what you put out into the world is coming back. Now, in our country and many countries all over the world, they call this the golden rule. They say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The truth is, whatever you do is already done. The truth is, so when I learned this, that I am the person who gets to control what comes back to me based upon what I'm putting out. Everything you try to do is already done. So when I figured that out, what I'm putting out is what's coming back. Let me get real clear about what it is I'm putting out. Real clear. So I read a book about 1989 called Seed of the Soul. And in that book, Gary Zukav talked about the laws of karma, of the laws of cause and effect, the third law of motion. And in that book, he talked about how your intention is always one with the law. Meaning, before you even think about a thing, you have an intention for the thing. And that the intention is going to determine the outcome. That's why the same people can go to the same church service and somebody walk down the aisle just to be seen to put some money in the church, and somebody else who just goes and just has a little bit to offer. The intention with which you give, the intention with which you serve determines the outcome. So when I figured that out, I went, whoa. I changed everything I did on my show. I called in the producers and I said, from this day forward, I will no longer be speaking to the KKK. I will no longer be speaking to people who are fighting each other in a way that it is damaging to the character of myself and other people who watch. From this day forward, I am only going to do intentional television. And they're like, how are we going to do that and still win? The reason we remain number one 25 straight years is because every single day I would have a pre-show meeting and have the producers come in and state to me, what is your intention? How do we want to use whoever is on this show, whatever is happening on this show, to serve the audience in a way that fulfills the mission of lifting, enlightening, encouraging, as well as entertaining. And if it doesn't do that, then I can't do it. I can't put my name on it. So I use this principle of intention for everything. I don't do anything without thinking about what is the real reason. What is the real motivation? What is the energy of my intention that's going to go into my thoughts and action and then be returned back to me? It is law. It's law. So the very first time I practiced this principle, there was a woman on the show whose daughter had been murdered by her boyfriend. And I went into the green room. I said, let me see if this works. I said, can you tell me what's your intention? I said, tell me what's your intention in being here. And she said, what do you mean? I'm here because your producers asked me to come. I said, but what is the reason you said yes? What did you intend when you said yes? And she said, I wanted people to know. Everybody asked me about my daughter's death and how she was murdered by her boyfriend. But I wanted people to know that my daughter was a real person. My daughter was loved, and she loved us. I want people to know that my daughter had a life that goes beyond her death, that's bigger than her death, that her life was bigger than her death. I said, okay, I can help you with that intention. Let me tell you what I intend. I intend to literally exploit your daughter's life, to tell the story in such a way that every other 16-year-old girl who's being abused by her 18-year-old boyfriend will see themselves in the story of your daughter. They will hear that she had a life. They will hear that everything seemed normal on the outside, but see themselves in her story and be able to be empowered by the life and death of your daughter. So every question that I ask you is not me trying to be just a voyeur. I'm using and asking the questions explicitly for a reason, for an intention to get people to see themselves. That is the first show I won an Emmy for. And I will say that this principle of intention I use in everything. For the last interview that I did with Whitney Houston, we did the, hey girl, how you doing? Oh my God, I didn't see you. So no. Then I say, turn the cameras off. I say, Whitney, tell me, what is your intention? Why are you doing this interview? Why did you want to sit with me? What is it you want to happen at the end of these 2 hours? Tell me what it is you want. Because I control the mic and I can make sure that happens. And I use that principle for every area of my life. I don't do anything, and I ask that you consider not doing anything that you don't truly intend. Do not allow yourself to be marginalized and defined by other people's agendas and intentions, because the power of your story lies in your personal intention. So it is my intention to fulfill the dream of the Creator. It is my intention to live to the highest calling and be pressed to the mark of the highest calling that I have come to do. And when you can ask the Creator, ask that which made you you, what is your dream for me? I guarantee you, instead of you trying to define the dream, what is your dream for me? If you're able to lean into the dream that the universe and all the forces of light and love and power and grace, by all the names that we call God, has for you, nobody can touch you. Nobody can touch you. That is the power of your phenomenon. Now, everybody works hard, and everybody has their own dreams. There was a time where I used to spend a lot of energy wanting things. Of course, it's easy for me to say, oh, things don't define me because I got a lot of things. That's nice. I like it. But this is what I learned. When you can surrender to the dream, you get to live in the space of the higher power. You get to live in the space that you purposefully have come to earth to claim for yourself.
Chẳng được quên khi cơn mưa đêm lại về. Em đã quên lời thề và ta như đông chìm sâu. Không gần mơ em anh nhận màu. Em chỉ cần mơ đâu em bay. Chỉ còn là những cơn mưa vô giá. Cho bên mơ em không mơ anh. Anh vẫn đang mơ. Chỉ cần bên em không được cần nhớ. Và chỉ có em không còn nhớ. Và người ta bên nhau như ngã tớ. Muốn nhớ về say em chỉ có mấy em ở đây. Và anh như muốn chết đi nhưng không muốn em mơ mày. Tình yêu làm cho ta đau đầu. Không em như nằm mơ màu. Anh như đứa mong cầu. Và vui bên em ngủ sầu. Chào các bạn mai em mơ. Chỉ có bên em nhưng đừng có mơ. Em vẫn đang dài. Em muốn bên ai. Anh không mong gì hơn. Chỉ mong em sẽ ở đây ôm anh thật gần. Anh chỉ mong đôi ta được có nhau. Mà đừng em đâu anh có em. Muốn em bên nào đừng có em. Ta sẽ trao nhau môi hôn thật sâu. Ôm anh.
Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, flip the handlebars. Crashing in my car, wake up in a bar. I'll be a superstar, just on my avatar. This world is so bizarre, empty out the reservoir. Yeah, I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay. I think I'm going crazy. Don't think I'll get home safe. So I'm taking 6 shots all straight to the face. I'm taking 6 shots, are you coming with me? Sometimes you need to let loose, grab juice, get goose, tattoos, taboos, get screwed. Loosen up, buttercup, all those hate comments will never make you feel enough. We're all adequate graduates, heart full of calluses, but we know calculus. Damn, ain't that fabulous? Can't wait to apply all those mathematicus. But we can't.